I just wanted things to be all right. So I just told the guys that, we can't do XYZ, we cannot curse on the stage. Please do not try and incite a mosh pit. I didn't know what could happen. So I just wanted it to be a peaceful concert. We just wanted to make it happen.
Greetings, Legion. Welcome to episode 281 of Into the Necrosphere. I'm back after a week away, and I have a hell of an episode for you guys this week. I'm joined, first and foremost, by Gigi Arabia of Heavy Arabia. Heavy Arabia is a promotions company based out of Saudi Arabia. They were responsible for staging the first ever international death metal show back in December 2023. And if you recall the episode that I posted a couple of weeks ago with Matt McGachy from Cryptopsy, they were the headliners, and so naturally I had to get the woman responsible on the show to talk about how it all came together. We also went into detail about her career, her background, the realities of promoting heavy metal in Saudi Arabia, and the surprising stance that the government has towards this style of music. Great conversation, really fascinating. It's coming up very shortly. But before we get to that, we need to get your juices flowing. And we are going to be doing that this week, courtesy of our very good friends over at Gutter Prince Cabal. This, my friends, is the brand new single by Hibafrenic. Kicking us off on Into the Necrosphere, that was Hebephrenic with Visions of Magdalene, taken from their forthcoming debut full-length Deccathexis, due for release on Gutter Prince Cabal on August the 23rd. Gutter Prince Cabal are a label that is very near and dear to my heart. They do fantastic work in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, the whole Asia-Pacific theatre, servicing a part of the world that doesn't always get noticed, but that has plenty of talent. And they have, in the 3-4 years that they've been around, put out some really strong stuff, including this Hebephrenic record. I'll post a pre-order link in the description to the podcast, so if you like what you heard, head over there, buy yourself some music, and let that gang know who it was who sent you. Friends, speaking of gangs, I'm part of a gang myself, a gang known as the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, dedicated to crushing podcasting mediocrity wherever we find it from Monday to Sunday. We kick off your week on a Monday with Horrorwolf 666, courtesy of Brandon Legion. Every Tuesday, yours truly casts hexes and slays posers with extreme fucking prejudice right here on Into the Necrosphere. On a Wednesday, we have your first double shot of the week. Everything Went Black, hosted by Mike Hill from the band Tombs. And we also have Iblis Manifestations, that is presented by my brother from another mother, the great Cheyenne from the band Trivax. Incidentally, he's just started a fitness video series on his YouTube channel called Trial by Fire. It's actually on the Iblis Manifestations YouTube channel if you want to check it out. And as luck would have it, I'm a guest on the second episode, so ladies in particular, you might want to mark your calendars down for that one. On a Thursday, Mike Hill returns, and he is joined by his co-hosts Mike Scondotto and Jeff Kashid. Necromaniacs is the name of their show, one of my very favorites of the week. They just did a review of the 1975 classic Jaws. Always super informative, super entertaining, and if you like yourself the Mike Hill and Scondotto, we finally did our 666 countdown of our favorite 80s thrash albums. That was recorded this past Saturday, coming your way next week. So look out for that. Probably my favorite of our 666 countdowns. One little wrinkle, one little rule I added in: no albums from a big four band. So that led to a few surprises, and yeah, I think you guys are going to absolutely love it. That's coming your way next week. But that's not all. If you're a fan of certainly of Mike Scondotto, he's going to be my co-host on this week's News Rant. So once I'm done talking to Gigi Arabia, don't go anywhere, because he and I get into it. We're listening to brand new tracks by Amorphis, Paradise Lost, Black Braid, Abigail Williams. We also went through and gave our take on everything that went down at the Back to the Beginning Black Sabbath farewell show. So it's a good hour and a half's worth of bantering and bullshitting. That's coming your way later on in the show. Of course, just wrapping up the Horseman schedule. On a Sunday and also on a Thursday, we've got Sol Knox, and that is hosted by the Sinister Minister, Carl Haikara. Just celebrated his 200th episode, so congratulations to him. And on that note, my friends, I'd like you right now to sit back and welcome to Into the Necrosphere, the inimitable Gigi Arabia. Welcome to Into the Necrosphere, Gigi. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. And like I said to you before, or when I initially reached out to you, I was going back over the conversation that I had with Matt McGagey. And as he was talking to me about Cryptopsy playing in Saudi Arabia, I thought to myself, he speaks so highly of you. I thought she must be worth talking to. And secondly, I kind of needed to get to know the person who was principally responsible for a very historic moment in the Saudi metal scene. So, like I said, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jackie. The pleasure is mine, honestly. And yeah, I'm glad that you decided to, invite me after you've had the conversation with Matt, and it sparked some type of curiosity. So I'm here to answer any questions you have.
So tell me a bit about Heavy Arabia, first of all. Like, give folks a sense of who you are, what you do, and how this mission began.
Yeah, that's cool. So Heavy Arabia is basically, It's Saudi Arabia's first and only dedicated heavy metal promotion company. So we do a lot of things. We do artist bookings, concert promotion, tour bookings, tour management, etc. How it started. So, if we go back in time, I was just a teenager who was, into rock and metal, but I also wanted to be a rock star back then, and I had my own instrumental kind of band. The music is still out there. I never tell anybody what it's called because it's horrible. But so I wanted to do that for a while. Then of course, I joined university. Didn't know what to do with this passion for music, so I just decided to pursue something totally different. There was no future for that, and so I did that. Graduated, started my career in academia, and then I went on a scholarship. This is way before Vision 2030 was announced. So, but I still had it in me. I still had the passion for metal in me, and I still attended festivals all over the world, back to back sometimes. And then I remember when Vision 2030 was announced, I was already getting prepared to study in the States. We had our hopes up, but we just didn't know what to expect. So I still wanted to continue pursuing my career in academia and just sticking to that. But then we started seeing changes actually happening in real life. So I decided, why not revisit my old dreams and still try to do something in music at some capacity. So I went to the founder of Middle East Records, and I asked if I could somehow work with him. He's based in Dubai. And so he wanted me to join him as an investor in the company. So I did that. But after I came back from the States, of course. So I got a taste of what it's like to work in the music industry. I consider him my mentor. Honestly, I owe everything I've achieved so far to him. To be honest, like he taught me everything from scratch. So we did a couple of gigs there in Dubai. I understood the business. Then COVID hit, 2020. And I was still, 2019, I was still unsure of starting Heavy Arabia in Saudi, because the live music industry in general was not fully developed and it was still vague. And anyways, during lockdown, I decided to just move the business home. So I conceptualized the whole Heavy Arabia thing and worked on its branding, studied the music industry remotely. I took a course with the School of Music Business in London. So that was like an 8 or 9 month long course. I learned a lot. Then I just started reading a lot. And then I just waited for the ban on live music to be lifted for me to launch Heavy Arabia officially. Literally didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what I was even expecting, not what I was doing, but I didn't know what to expect. Because we were in lockdown for, lockdown I think lasted, maybe 9 months, but we were still working remotely and no events were happening until later 2021. So, literally, I didn't know what to expect. Are people going to show up? I don't know. Maybe they're still, freaking out over the virus. So, I just did that. And here we are today. 3 years later, it's insane where we've come now. It's now the government invited me to, accelerate, to join an accelerator program. And I opened my first round in investment just a couple of months ago. So it's, I didn't expect any of this to happen, but of course it came with a lot of challenges. So this is the story of Heavy Arabia, basically.
So the round of investment that you're doing right now, what sort of people are you presenting to, or who are your prospective investors in Heavy Arabia?
So it was a massive event where basically 16 companies in entertainment, or basically entertainment investors like myself, were invited to come and, present their project in front of, I remember it was 200 investors. It was a mix of investors, family offices. There was angel investors, a lot of, some people were not even from the industry, but they want to invest in entertainment and music, especially with entertainment, playing a big role in Saudi tourism. So those were the investors, and now we're meeting a couple of people to hopefully invest in an open air metal festival, hopefully taking place next year or 2027.
Wow. And I think what's incredible to me is that the support actually comes from the government. I mean, it's wild that you're in the UK, the arguably the birthplace of heavy metal. The government couldn't care less about heavy music. It couldn't care less about heavy metal, period. I mean, I think there's some support for the arts, but it is extremely limited. But one thing I wanted you to clarify for people that don't know, can you, for anybody that isn't familiar with it, could you explain what Vision 2030 is?
Yeah, so basically the idea of Vision 2030 is just to diversify the economy so that we don't fully depend on oil. So we're, it's on 3 main pillars. People can go and, read about it in detail. But if we want to be specific about this whole entertainment industry and how it fits under Vision 2030, we're trying to create this cultural transformation. And under this transformation, you have entertainment, everything that comes also after under culture. It looks like the government is inviting everybody to be participants of this vision and to achieve this vision. And when you mentioned that, it's funny that the government is even investing in heavy metal, it even surprised me at first, because when I received that email, they made it very clear that they're inviting 250 companies and there are no strings attached, because at the end of the day, only 16 companies will be selected. So we came, like 250 of us pitched, and then it was like a 5-minute pitch, and then we were selected. So a heavy metal promotion company was selected among 15 others, which to me is insane. Like, I didn't even believe that they saw potential there. But from my understanding, they're investing in the founders too, and they're investing on those leading those companies. And to me, this gives me all the push, all the fuel to really prove a point there. And for us to find investors finally, it just proves the point that Saudi is really welcoming everybody, including heavy genres like heavy metal.
Did the government reach out to you just out of the blue? Did you have to apply? Did you have to go to a process, or was this kind of tapping you up saying this is going to happen and we'd like to invite you to at the very least be part of the pitching round?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. This is exactly what happened. Anybody who owns an entertainment company is registered as an investor in the database. So I was contacted from or by this company. I forgot what it's called. Plug and Play. It was Plug and Play that was hired by the General Entertainment Company to go and contact the companies that have potential and that are actually doing something and creating an impact already. So like they already knew what I was doing. They knew that it was a very heavy genre and a very niche community.
Very niche, and I think for a lot of people, I think folks probably, some people probably think that the community would be next to non-existent in Saudi. But you mentioned that you've been a fan of rock and metal for a long time. How old were you when you discovered heavy music?
So of course I didn't start with heavy music.
No one does.
Yeah. I mean, you always start with the lighter stuff. But when it first caught my attention, it was Black Sabbath. It was a mixtape that I found. And it was Black Sabbath that first caught my attention. Like I had never heard of music like that. But I wouldn't say that my start was Black Sabbath. It wasn't. It was just a discovery for me. And then, of course, that was probably 14.
I'm about to
I would
say,
say I
how
was
old were you at this
14.
time?
Yeah, 14, 15, basically 14, 15. And then, of course, there was MTV. A lot of people don't, they sometimes it's hard for them to believe that I'm this old. But yes, like I
You're this
had
old.
mixtape. Yeah, I'm part of the mixtape generation, MTV generation. So then I discovered, of course, Linkin Park through MTV, Evanescence, all of these mainstream music. And yeah, then I started getting into the heavier stuff. But it's so surprising that when I got into the heavier stuff, it was immediately doom metal and melodic death metal.
So what
I
if
didn't.
can you name some bands?
Of course. So my first few bands that were doom would have to be Swallow the Sun. That was my first doom metal band, and I'm seeing them next week actually in Dark River Festival in Finland. And melodic death was Insomnium. Actually, this is the bass. Behind me is the bass of the bassist of Insomnium. Then yeah, it's I've been a doom / melodic death metal girl since then.
And what about black metal and stuff that's that's a little spicier?
Okay, so to be honest, yes, I listen to a little bit of black metal, but it's just not my cup of tea. I wouldn't say that, oh, I love black metal or it's my favorite genre. It's not. Like I like to read about it. I have a couple of books about the black metal in Norway and how it started in Finland, and all that. Out of curiosity, but I wouldn't say I'm a fan. I like a couple of songs, but I wouldn't say this is my favorite black metal band. It's not my cup of tea.
The curiosity is how it starts. I started off as curious as well, and next thing you know, it's Emperor, Marduk, and anything you can get your hands on. I might also have to make you a mixtape by the sounds of things.
Please, or playlist. It's cheaper now.
So prior to Vision 2030, what was music availability and the live music scene like in Saudi Arabia?
Music availability. So of course there was no live music at all. It was illegal. So this also corrects any misconceptions that the world has about Saudi or the Middle East. Well, I don't know about other countries, to be honest, but in Saudi, heavy metal was not illegal in itself. Live music in general, no matter the genre, you couldn't play live. Didn't matter whether it was pop, hip hop, metal. It didn't matter. So it was not a thing. But of course, we had our record stores. We, of course, bought things based on the whoever recommends something, or sometimes the album artwork looks cool. Personally speaking, I used to discover music through MySpace. Again, I'm this old, so yeah, I discovered.
You're giving away trade secrets here. So.
So yeah, I discovered actually Swallow the Sun, Insomnium. I discovered all of those amazing bands through MySpace. So we did that, and I also discovered a lot of music from Yahoo chat rooms. I don't know if you were part of the Yahoo chat rooms.
I'm not that old. No, I'm kidding. No, I do. I remember the Yahoo chat rooms very well.
Yeah, so they had their music rooms. I discovered Catatonia through one Yahoo chat room. So that's how we discovered music. Of course, exchanging mixtapes and whatnot. But yeah, and of course, when it comes to live music, we were super underground. There was an underground metal community. We had our own underground festivals, etc. Honestly, personally speaking, I didn't attend any of those. I even though it was I knew of the community, but I was still kind of underage still, so I couldn't, didn't take the risk to go attend something super underground. But it existed. The underground scene existed, and this is something also that the Western music industry doesn't understand, that our metal scene existed since the 90s. It's not something new. It was there. It was just completely underground.
And in terms of the bands, are there a lot of Saudi bands? I would assume now that something like Heavy Arabia exists, and you're able to start putting on shows, and you've got international bands coming to Riyadh, that it must be growing, certainly. But like in the old days, were there a lot of bands actively playing at some of these underground festivals?
Yeah, actually, I would say there were more active bands then than there are today. But the only explanation to this is that those bands, they already, they grew old, and they started families and whatnot, so they're not as active as they used to be. And now we are seeing more and more bands forming, and this is promising. So I am hopeful that within the next 5 years we're going to see more bands. But back then there were lots of bands. You name it, thrash metal bands, black metal bands, brutal death metal bands, melodic death metal bands, punk rock. There was lots of them. Today there are fewer of them. Some of them have reunited and started releasing more music, and now we're seeing younger generation forming bands with even fresher sounds. And sounds that are more, I would say, Saudi or Arabic in its elements. So yeah, now we even have an all-female rock band, which is exciting, and
Wow.
they're playing their first European tour this summer. So yeah, like we're seeing exciting developments.
Well, I remember the flyer for the Cryptopsy show, and you used, I think, a Saudi band as the music on the flyer that went out on the socials. I thought that was really, really cool. I was like, this is a band worth paying attention to. But I'm curious about I guess, how Saudi society has taken to the idea of Vision 2030, because when I look at, I mean, I as I mentioned, as you know, I know about some of this, from non-podcast related activities. So, things that we do at work and things like that. But it seems like it has unlocked a real groundswell of potential in the country that was sort of sitting there dormant, waiting to be unleashed. How has Vision 2030 landed with the people of Saudi Arabia? Is it been openly embraced? Like, what's the feeling on the ground?
Do you mean are they participants in the?
Are they participants? Are they happy it's happening? Is there any pushback from people that don't want so much change? Because it feels to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels to me like it's also been a lot of change in a very short space of time.
That's true, and that's the exact point of Vision 2030. And as a matter of fact, if you've been following the news, we've now achieved over 90% of Vision 2030. That now we're already thinking of, having Vision 2035 and Vision 2040 already. So it just goes to show how well people have received the Vision 2030, and how excited people are, especially the entrepreneurs, in participating as enablers of this vision. You name it. Entrepreneurs in AI, entrepreneurs in entertainment, in all fields, and this has been, I think, the reason why we are seeing a lot of changes in such a short time, because people are participating, and now we're seeing investors coming into Saudi to also contribute and to engage with this untapped market. Every day we wake up, and it's even us. We can't keep up with the changes, which is also awesome. But at the same time, sometimes all of these changes can come with issues. I'm part of this program that is, to help put a strategy for music cities in Saudi. And one of the issues that we mentioned is that with the rapid changes come also unexpected changes in regulations that we don't know of. And it's always, positive changes. It's always to make things faster, make things, much more efficient. But yeah, it's really exciting. And, we're all supportive. I haven't heard of anyone trying to push back. I would say at the beginning, some people were a bit skeptical. Like they didn't fully believe it. It was too good to be true. But then we saw it on the ground, and since then, we've been supportive, and it fostered a sense of pride, to be honest.
Which is something that I'm getting very, very strongly from you, and that's great to see as well. And you see it too I've seen a lot of videos of things like the Red Sea project. The work that's been done there with some of those resorts that's been built. You see the people that work there. I mean, they're genuinely proud to be representing those resorts and representing those resorts as an extension of Saudi and where Saudi is headed as a country.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's I know that it can bother some people that you're proud of your country. I don't know. Sometimes I do get that, because I know nationalism and patriotism, sometimes it bothers people from the outside. Does that make sense? But
well, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, no, carry on with what you were saying.
Yeah, that was just my point. But they just don't understand that when you see your dreams come to life in such a short time, of course you have to be proud. Of course you have to be, proud of where you come from. Of course you say, I'm proud to be a Saudi. I'm proud to be part of this country. But yeah, I mean, you never know. You just, until you experience it, you'll understand it.
I 100% agree, and I can relate to that from the perspective of being South African originally. So I live in the UK now, but when I was growing up in South Africa, I was growing up for the first 1990 is when Nelson Mandela was set free, and 1994 is when we had our first democratic elections. I was 14 when that happened. Both prior to that date and after that date, patriotism is central to the South African experience. It still is. Everywhere you go, whether it's kids in school, whether it's shops, whether it's anything that goes on, everything is pushed as proudly South African, proudly South African. I think our national identity is very much wrapped up in sport, rugby in particular. The whole ethos, or not ethos, but the whole kind of mantra that came out in the last Rugby World Cup was no DNA, just RSA, all this sort of thing. And I think I've always known patriotism and that feeling of national identity as something very beautiful and something very unifying, and it's something, but from my background, something that was urgently needed in a country that at various stages, and sadly including now, was very divided. So when I came to the UK, and I saw firsthand what a lot of the Western sentiment was towards nationalism and towards patriotism, I could never quite wrap my head around it, because I can't understand why people would think that it's wrong to feel pride in your heritage and to feel pride in where you're coming from. I've reflected on it many, many times and thought about the different reasons for it. I feel like it's the symptom of a very complacent and very overindulged society. It's people that for too long haven't realized how good they have it, and then they start to come up with these fantasies and these ideas that they think give their life meaning and purpose, but it's complete folly. Hopefully that I wasn't rambling too much and that it made sense what I said there. But
totally made sense.
Now talk to me about getting Cryptopsy into Saudi, because Cryptopsy was the first, but before that there wasn't like any mellow metal band like Linkin Park or anything that played Saudi. So the first metal band, international metal band period that played was Cryptopsy.
Correct.
Why
Yep.
them, considering the fact that you like Wimp's metal, like Swallow the Sun? I'm only teasing you, of course, but you like stuff like Swallow the Sun and stuff like that. You go out and you pick one of the most brutal bands you could possibly find.
I mean, isn't that metal? Like, for the first band to come to Saudi. Yeah, I mean, it's so metal. But honestly, when you do business, it's not about what you like. It's about what people want. And I know there's a huge fan base for brutal death metal here, at least in the eastern province of Saudi and also Bahrain. There's a huge fan base for that. So of course it made sense that Cryptopsy, would be the first metal band to play Saudi. Maybe in the future I'll book my favorite bands. I don't know, but it's not about what I like and what I want to see. But anyways, so I've been in contact with their agent Gino, who's amazing, and he's been trying to bring one of his bands over to Saudi, and a lot of times it just didn't work. Either with the calendar or with the routes. There's always something that just made it impossible. And then he suggested Cryptopsy. Of course, I thought it was a great choice. And then we had to, select a date that made sense. The date changed a lot, but we still made it work because I knew it was time to make it work. So we did that. And, it surprised me that Cryptopsy, just woke up one day and found Riyadh on the flyer. They were not even asked if they wanted to play. It just, appeared on the flyer that, hey guys, you're starting your tour in Riyadh. So we did that, but everything was super smooth, with the visas, and we didn't have any issues. But I had my own personal concerns. It was just me being super, what do you call it? I wouldn't say careful, but I just wanted things to be all right. So I just told the guys that, we can't do XYZ, we cannot curse on the stage. Please do not try and incite a mosh pit. I didn't know what could happen. So I just wanted it to be a peaceful concert. We just wanted to make it happen. And honestly, like the Cryptopsy guys were super, super cooperative, super understanding, super enthusiastic about the experiences. And, I made it very clear that, you guys being the first metal band to ever play Saudi, you also need to expect that things might be too different for you. But nothing was going to go wrong as long as we have the permit. And this is something that I would like to say publicly now on your podcast, Jackie, that if you get a permit to play Saudi, that's it. There are no surprises. The government does its due diligence to understand who you are, and if they approve you to come and play, that's it. There are no surprises. You don't have to ask, but could the government come and shut down this gig? No, if you're just sticking to whatever is in the contract, and we don't do anything outside this permit, then we're good to go. And the guys, it looks like they enjoyed it. They were, you could see that there's a lot of there are moments of culture shock for them, but it's exciting, to be in a place that is super different. You see a lot of locals. It's not something that you'd normally see in Dubai, for example. Dubai is very exciting. It's an exciting place, but you don't see a lot of locals. It's an expat kind of community. So they saw a lot of people in their traditional clothing, but they also saw everything that was, also in common with Canada. They were excited to see Tim Hortons, and and all of that, and all of the food chains. Yeah, it was, it was a successful gig. We were 20 tickets away from a sold out show. It was a 150 capacity. We sold 133 or something. in 3 weeks. So that was good. But yeah, then, we started having more and more bands come to Saudi.
So you had 2 weeks later, Metallica were there, but Metallica didn't come through Heavy Arabia.
Of course not. No, of course we didn't book them.
To say, you wouldn't be talking to the likes of me had that happened. So.
No.
You'd say, "Oh, I'll do an interview for 15 minutes out of my bed."
But the announcement, but Metallica's announcement came after Cryptopsy, by the way. It was Cryptopsy's announcement came first. Metallica, I think, came a week later or 10 days later. But yeah, we beat them.
Yeah. Well, here's what blows my mind. You just kind of alluded to it a second ago. Someone from the government would have had to listen to Cryptopsy's albums or music and go, okay, yeah, this is cool. We can let this in. So, did you have to provide them with links to the music or with actual music when you made the application for the permit?
So here's how it goes. When you apply for a permit, all you have to do is submit the band's social media. So, like all their social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, whatever, and photos of them live. They want to see photos of them live, not like a studio photo shoot or whatever. Just photos of them live. They never asked for music, to be honest. They just care about visuals.
Got it.
Period. That's it. So they don't scan lyrics. There's this other misconception. It happens in Dubai, yes. It happens in UAE in general, not just Dubai. They do scan lyrics. In Saudi, they don't scan lyrics. They just care about how you look like on stage. And the cool thing, if there's no track record, like your criminal record is fine, they just care about what you look like, and it's never a no. It can be a yes with conditions or just a yes. A yes with conditions would be like, yes, but ask whoever member to cover their religious tattoo. So no religious symbols whatsoever should be visible, whether it's like a cross tattoo or any type of religious symbol. If it's a female performer, for example, if there are photos of them not dressing modestly, they would just ask for the female performer to dress modestly. That's it. It's not like, female performers cannot perform. Of course they do. We have our own all-female Saudi rock band. It's just with conditions sometimes. But there's still something that confuses me to this day. This was not an issue when Metallica came to play. Metallica had their own exclusive merch for Riyadh, and it had Riyadh skyline with crosses. So to me, I didn't get that, to be honest.
That's really weird. I don't think I ever saw that.
Yeah. So I don't know how Metallica got away with it, but that happened. But maybe I honestly don't have an explanation for that. But for me, I wouldn't risk not getting a permit. I want to make it work. So it's never a problem to tell somebody to cover their cross tattoo. Tattoos in general are not a problem, by the way. You can be full sleeve tattoos. It's fine. You can still perform.
This is going to sound like an incredibly ignorant question to ask you, but I'm going to do it anyway. But would like overtly satanic imagery, would that trigger a yes but alert as well?
I'll give you. I personally wouldn't even book a band, honestly, that has that reputation. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Honestly, I personally wouldn't.
But let's say
there's
like Deicide, for example. Like if I think about it from a business perspective, Deicide's a very popular death metal band. If people are into brutal death metal, it's extremely good chance they're into Deicide as well. Like, would Deicide not be a band that you would book?
I would. I mean, listen, it's very obvious, like, what kind of bands I wouldn't book. I wouldn't. I can't tell you names, on the podcast. But
We'll go through the list offline. Yeah.
there you go. Or bands. You know what? I'm not even gonna get into that. But there are certain bands that are too obvious that I would not book. It's not their stage presence, not even what they post on their socials. It's not just whether or not I would get the permit. I know that even our people wouldn't necessarily like them. Honestly, yes, we do have. Honestly, we do have a community of metalheads, but it doesn't mean that they don't care about somebody being too offensive. We still have our own values, and we wouldn't want a band like that, to come here and be like, F your religion or F your whatever. You know what I mean? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the Metallica show, do you know how many people were there?
The Metallica show, mind you, it was part of a festival. So they didn't have their own stadium show. It was part of a festival called Soundstorm. They played the main stage. I would say, honestly, I can't give numbers. I'm not a person who would give numbers and not, being, factual. But I know that the festival that year, was it 2020, 2023?
That would have been 2023.
2023. I think a total of 700 something people came to the festival over 4 days. So this gives you some type of indication. I know Eminem attracted 200,000, and it looked like Metallica had the same type of crowd because I was working.
200,000.
Eminem alone, his stage, 100,000.
Yeah.
And Metallica's crowd, it looked like Eminem's in a way, but I honestly don't have numbers.
I'm just going through the lineup right now as you're saying this. It was huge. I mean, in terms of the total, I mean, many bands, not bands I would want to listen to. But I mean, a lot of bands. The 2024 lineup had Linkin Park, unfortunately. And again, I'm pulling your leg, but I mean, it had a ton of bands. And just looking at the photo, I mean, it actually does look like there was about probably a good 200,000 people there.
Yeah, the main stage at least. So Linkin Park, they played the main stage. Muse played the main stage as well that you're looking at. 30 Seconds to Mars played the smaller stage, which is still huge. And they also attracted a lot of people. 30 Seconds to Mars. But so that's 2024. We had more. I think it gave the bookers the confidence to start booking more, alternative music in general. They just tested the waters with Metallica, which can never go wrong with Metallica. I mean, but
no, I'm about to say,
we're excited to see.
If you're gonna have a benchmark band, that's the band to use.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, with regards to bringing Cryptopsy on, you mentioned there were a few culture clashes there, or culture shocks. What, from your observation, from your perspective, were the things you think they were most surprised about?
So, of course, no alcohol kind of surprised them, like no alcohol whatsoever. It was a culture shock. I don't know, perhaps being surrounded by many people in their traditional clothing could be also another culture shock.
Matt mentioned to me that he had there were people in full burqas in the mosh pit, people were there were like people in traditional dress coming up to him asking for selfies. I think he seemed to that seemed to be the thing that amazed him the most.
So honestly, there were not many. There could be one. I didn't see any one person in burqa, but I believe Matt. Of course, I believe him if he saw somebody. But there were not. It's because our community is small. We know our community, And girls, they can be, they can have their hair down just like me. I looked like this during Cryptopsy's show. So you don't have to fully cover to be able to attend a live event. But Matt said that he met somebody at the merch table, and she took a selfie with him, which is awesome. So that could also be a culture shock for him. Taking a selfie with somebody that you don't know what they look like. But this is the beauty of Saudi. You can see everybody. People that are still, they're still, traditional. They're still conservative, but they can still enjoy live music. And, you can also be just like anybody, with your hair down, with makeup on, with leather jackets on, and, still enjoy. It's a place for everybody, as long as you're okay with not having alcohol.
Do you think at some point that no alcohol rule is going to be repealed? Because I know for an absolute fact that the Saudi government have been advised that if they want to drastically ratchet up tourism, number one, and two, attract foreign workers, they have to do the same thing that Dubai did, and that's to take it away, and that's to allow alcohol. Obviously under quite strict controls, because in Dubai you can't just run around, like the louts do on the street over here. But do you think that there will ever come a point where they change that, or will they show flexibility on that rule?
Possible. I mean, there just last year there's so we have this diplomatic quarter area in Riyadh where the diplomats live and where the embassies are, and it's like a little fenced city in a way. And they opened a liquor store there, but only the diplomats or people living in that area or working for the embassies can buy alcohol. So this happened last year. I don't know, honestly, and I'm not saying that I am pro selling alcohol or against selling alcohol, but would it happen? Maybe it will be introduced in certain places, maybe in certain resorts where, those mega projects, maybe it happens. Like I said, sometimes, we can't even keep up with the changes. Could happen. Let's see.
As far as if we get back to Heavy Arabia, so you had Cryptopsy in 2023. Who were some of the bands that you brought in 2024, and how have you capitalized on the momentum of that Cryptopsy show since?
So the bands of course I did a couple of like local gigs, because we do have an issue with the infrastructure, with venues availability and, crazy ticket splits at our local venues. So you cannot do like an international show every month, for example. But anyways, so ever since we booked Cryptopsy, we did a couple of local gigs, and we also invited Wolfheart, melodic death metal from Finland. We had Kiko Lorero of Megadeth come and play at my showcase, and he also was a judge at a guitar contest. And yeah, we participated in the Metallica documentary. I don't know if that counts, but it's not a show, but it's a thing. Like, at least we managed to highlight the scene, You
about to say you had a poster that had the Heavy Arabia logo and the Metallica logo on the same page?
Yeah, it's awesome. And they just actually premiered the documentary in New York City just last June, and I was invited to attend the premiere. Just unexpected logistical issues happened, and I had to cancel last minute. But it was so awesome for Metallica to invite the people that participated in the documentary to come and attend the premiere. They were there. They shook hands with the people. So yeah, it feels so amazing to finally be seen and validated as a scene. And now the world knows about us, and this has always been the very thing that I've always wanted to achieve through Heavy Arabia. And now we're working on exciting initiatives happening at the last quarter of the year, which will hopefully further highlight the scene and make the world know about our, know about us, and wanted to come and play. Cryptopsy, actually, it's amazing to see how Cryptopsy's success story, I would say, in Saudi encouraged a lot of people to come and contact me after that, and bands wanting to play for free even. They're like, we heard amazing things. We asked Matt, and heard amazing things about you and Heavy Arabia and Saudi in general, and the scene and the fans, and we want to do it, and it's for free. It's fine. But of course, like I get a lot of these emails. I never want to book a band for free. I always want to compensate bands. I want to pay bands. I do that even for my local bands. I try to compensate them in any way. But yeah, I would say, thanks to Cryptopsy, honestly, they contributed to a lot of these misconceptions, being corrected.
They got the ball rolling.
They did.
Yeah. On the compensation side, you touched on the ticket splits and some of the logistics that you have to deal with in Saudi. Can you give me a couple of examples? And I'll before you answer, I'll give you one real bugbear that I have in the UK, and I'm curious to know whether or not you see this in Saudi as well. There is a phenomenon in the UK and in the US, I think it's across most of Europe as well, where venues are now taking a split of, or have been for some time now, taking a split of merch sales from bands at venues. And for me, even as much of a capitalist as I am, to think that in principle you're the band attracting the audience to that venue, whatever money they're spending at the bar or anywhere else in that venue is going straight to the venue. How are you now putting your hand in the pocket of the person who's effectively helping you exist at the same time? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I've always felt as if I were a manager of one of those bands, I would just tell them to go pound sand. Like, we will sell our merch in a little wagon, horse and buggy across the road before we sell it in your venue and give you a cent of our hard-earned money. But I'm curious as to some of the logistics that you deal with as a promoter in Saudi.
Yeah, so to start with, like, we don't even have F&B. We don't have F&B. Like, venues cannot make money off F&B. You just get a space. That's it. That's all you get. You get a space, and you have to pay for that space, and then you share 50-50. And then with the 50 that I get as a promoter, I have to share that with my bands, and I have to pay, the sound engineers, and I have to pay the photographers, and I have to pay everybody. I have to pay the stagehands. I have to pay. So I cannot make money at the end of the day. But honestly, it comes from also venues starting this business, and I don't think they have dealt with promoters. They don't understand how it works with promoters. They don't understand their business model. They don't, you know what I mean? It's just people that have a space and they're just renting it to, for corporate events or anybody, and so this has been an issue. Merch sales, definitely we have this issue. A lot of our venues, they take 10% off merch. What I encourage my bands to do, honestly, is to just make up the 10% somehow. In my latest gigs, I got my own POS machine. And I told the venues not to sell merch. I'm going to have my own merch person. And I'm going to have them sell merch. The money is going to go straight into my account. And I give the bands 100% of their ticket sales. And that's what I do, at least for my local bands. And also Wolfheart got 100% of their merch sales. I don't ever take a cut from merch. It's not money that I'm allowed to touch. I'm not entitled to that kind of money. And again, it comes from just venues not knowing how to deal with promoters, because we don't have many promoters in the country, to be honest. But yeah, I try to compensate my bands as much as possible. I know in the European, world, they don't even, majority of the time they don't pay bands at all. If you're a new band, and they don't even pay for your gas. They don't give you per diem. They don't give you, you're just lucky that you get the slot. I don't do that. I had a band that had 100 people, literally in total, 100 followers on Instagram, and I still paid for their hotel. I paid them per diem. I paid for the gas, and I still paid them something, at least something, but it's never zero. But yeah, that's, sometimes even when I have leftover money at the end of the year, when I feel like, oh, this feels like leftover money, I still reach out to the bands and tell them, hey, I think I can share this. Yeah.
So how do you, I mean, because 50% is a very, very big slice of the pie for a venue owner to take. So how do you make this financially sustainable? I would, and let me actually add to that. How do you make it financially sustainable for Heavy Arabia as an entity and for you as an individual?
Cool. So for me as an individual, I still have my day job. So I have my
Got
day
it.
job. I don't fully depend on Heavy Arabia. We're not even there yet, to make it a full-time job. But when you ask about Heavy Arabia, so Heavy Arabia is just a brand under my company. I still work for corporate events. I still do consultations. I offer corporate events, a set of different services. I take that money to fund Heavy Arabia's events. Heavy Arabia's events in themselves, they always either break even, lose a little bit, or make a little bit of a profit. But I'm not there for the money, and I'm here for the, literally, I'm investing long term. I'm not waiting for things to be perfect, because I know if I'm gonna wait things to be perfect, I'm already gonna be late. I know things are gonna take time to develop. I know that it's gonna take time for more venues to show up, and even for the infrastructure to be fully developed. But I'll do what I can do now to at least help artists feel validated, and they feel like they have an opportunity, to share their art just like everybody else.
So what and what you're doing ultimately is scene building as much as it is anything else. It's not just a question of uplifting bands. You're kind of in many ways cultivating a local audience who will hopefully grow and increasingly come to see bands when you bring them into when you put up shows.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, here's kind of one of my final questions as we round the bend to wrap this up. If you were talking about pitching earlier, what is your vision? Like, what would you love for Heavy Arabia to become? Like, and what was your elevator pitch to investors?
So the investors, I basically pitched a heavy metal festival. So I wanted them to invest in the project itself, and not in the company itself, but invest in the festival, which is, by the way, something new. It's not an it's not an equity investment, but basically what I was pitching to them is, I talked about the audience being, young, curious, hungry for live music experiences, especially in alternative and heavy genres in general. They are finally finding their space to grow. And I explained, I tried to make it as relevant as possible to whatever they already know. So I kind of, described this niche community. How do I say this? So here we boxing is a big thing in Saudi. You know this, right? Do you know this?
Actually? As is professional wrestling.
Do you know that we do?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. Because I also know professional wrestling is massive over there. The UFC has been to Saudi. So yeah, no, I know that.
So yeah, what I was trying to pitch to the investors is just the idea of tapping into this spending power of a niche community. Like it's a young, curious, and hungry for live music experiences, and I tried to make it relevant to them by saying, think of a niche community like the boxing community, how hungry they are for, for events where they can go and watch crazy matches, and they would literally fly from all over the world to come and see a match. And this is basically the rock and heavy metal community. They would do this. They would fly in from all over the world to come and see a band for 45 minutes. So we're leaving a lot of money on the table, and I want to monetize this community. So yeah, and of course, like, they had their concerns at first, but I reassured them that under Vision 2030 there has been a lot of openness. There has been a lot of support. I was part of this accelerator program by the government, so it shows that the government wants to support even heavier genres, and there is just overall institutional backing for music initiatives. I told them about the Music Commission, their involvement in supporting the scene and exporting the scene abroad. So then they felt more confident in wanting to continue this conversation. So yeah, and I of course they wanted to see even like where you would want to do this festival, why there. And I sat with a lot of mentors who, prior to meeting the investors, they told me exactly what kind of language to use with those investors. Most of them were kind of like semi-government or government. So it helped a lot, and now we're continuing the conversation. Maybe next year we're gonna do another episode, Jackie, talking about this first of its kind open air metal fest.
Well, I tell you what, you are welcome back on the podcast any day of the week, twice on Sunday. I think what you're doing is absolutely awesome. And I also hope people listen to this and they're inspired themselves, as to seeing what can be done in a country where you don't necessarily expect to be seeing bands like Cryptopsy play. Final question for you: wish list bands. If you could book 3 bands to play a show in Saudi, what 3 bands would you book?
Oh my God, I would get a lot of they would be like, but these are not even great bands,
It's fine. It's your show.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you know what, Jackie? I've been asked this question before on actually it was a TV show, and I'm not gonna name the big bands because I don't want to give tips to the big bookers, because they would have to pay me to tell them what people want to see.
Book. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna choose medium-sized band or small bands. I don't know. Oh gosh. Okay, Alceste. I want to book Alceste, the French. Yeah, I would book Alceste. Let me see who. Oh my God, Jackie, I'm not gonna give you answers.
Well, I'll give you one. You say you like Doom. Okay. A couple of weeks ago on my news rant, I was talking about this. Here's a lineup that is begging to be set up, to be created and taken on tour, but you can certainly book them. Paradise Lost headlining, November's Doom or High Parasite playing, and then a band out of the US called Mother of Graves, which I think is the best new death doom band I've heard probably in 20 years. But there you go. That is a death doom extravaganza like you would not be able to find anywhere else in 2025.
Okay. I'm gonna definitely check out the last band. Sorry, what was that again? The American
Mother of
one?
Graves. I'll message you on Instagram, and I'll give you the names. Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Mother of Graves.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you very, very much for your time. An absolute blast having you on. Great, as I said, really fascinating hearing about what you're doing, and we will definitely catch up again at some point down the road. I'd love to check in with you in a year's time and see where you're at.
Awesome. Yeah, pleasure. Honestly, I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Necrosin with a song called Under a Violent Moon that's taken from their self-titled EP, came out back in 2023. The band comes from Bahrain, and they actually opened for Cryptopsy at that show back in December of 2023. So thought it would be nice to cap off what was a very fun conversation with Gigi with a track that connects us to the event. Gigi, thank you very much to her for her time. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I found it it absolutely fascinating. I'd love to have her back on the podcast. If you do live in that part of the world and you're new to the podcast, welcome to the Legion. And as far as Gigi is concerned, I think, as I said, she's doing fantastic work. She's a very brave, very innovative, and very interesting woman. And I expect to hear and see much more of her in the future. Before we get to the news rant, my friends, one song that unfortunately I skipped over. Well, I actually didn't skip over it intentionally, but I think Mike and I got so lost in everything else we were talking about, we never quite touched on this. But I do think that it is sufficiently worthy of your attention, so that's why I'm going to give you guys a quick musical interlude before we get to the news rant. Off the forthcoming Disaster record, Kill All Idols, this is their brand new single, and believe you me, it's about to rip you a new one. Taken from their forthcoming album, Kill All Idols, you just heard Disaster with Towards Oblivion, beyond top-notch. We missed it on the news rant, which is why I wanted to make sure you guys heard it. I am also working tirelessly to try and get a member of Disaster on the podcast. So hopefully that's going to happen. In the meantime, though, make sure you head over to the Disaster Bandcamp, buy yourself some music. Remind them that if they want to be where the real ones go, they need to come on Into the Necrosphere. Genuinely, one of my favorite songs of the year so far, without question. Right now, my friends, if you proclaimed to the world that you refused to attend the Back to the Beginning Black Sabbath farewell because it was organized by Sharon Osbourne, it featured Pantera, and according to you, it was an orgy of hate, then take your shriveled up testicles and hit the bricks, because this is my weekly news rant.
A roundabout for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
I know it sounds like it's coming through a Sony Walkman that was left out in the sun for a little too long, but it's all right. Well, welcome to the news rant, and I'm coming at everybody from a fucking very ramshackle setup that I've had to do here while I dismantle everything in the living room and set up kind of a new recording work area for myself. By the time I record all the segues and the intros and stuff for the podcast, I should hopefully have everything set up in the living room. But in the meantime, myself and the Outlaw Mike Scondotto have just come off a fucking epic 666 countdown of the best 80s thrash songs, and we figured not only have we got a bunch of new music that we want to hear and probably have some intersecting interests as far as some of the new tracks that have come out is concerned, but we wanted to talk a bit about the Black Sabbath Back to the Beginning show, because I know, Mike, you've got some strong views on that, as do I. But welcome to the news rant.
Thank you. Always good to be on the news rant of one of my favorite podcasts out there. From the jump, I'm going to ask you how. I think I need a tank top for these summer months. I got to get one of those. So
they're on Teespring. I'll drop you a note. Send me your address. I'll have one sent to you.
Excellent. And in return, I could send you the Inhuman Bathory ripoff shirt that was made. We made a special batch of Inhuman, the Return Bathory rips. So yeah, awesome. But hell yeah, it'll look very good out there in the UK. But
it is fucking boiling over here. I was saying to Mike Hill before we started recording the Thrash Countdown, it is some Woodstock '99 vibes. It's so fucking hot here. It is ridiculous. And I must say, unless I'm near a beach, I don't enjoy heat. I've just come to that conclusion. I detest it.
I'm a summer baby, as they say. Boy, my birthday's in like 2 weeks, so I do like the heat. I do love air conditioning, though. So there's that. And I prefer pools to the beach. So yeah.
I do. I'm a big beach man, and I'm already counting down to my holiday at the end of this year, as opposed to the 2 weeks, the piddly 2 weeks that I went away for this past holiday. We will be away for 6 weeks.
Oh wow!
And it's going to be full bore safari, just doing all the best shit. So I can't wait. I've actually been thinking, and people can tell me whether they're interested in seeing this or not. But after recording the stuff at Fortress Festival, I kind of got a handle a bit more on recording vlog style content. If anybody's interested, I'd be more than happy to record some stuff while I'm in South Africa, so you guys can see what I've been raving on about these many years. When I talk about going on holiday, we are definitely going on safari again this year. We're going to go to multiple vineyards and do wine tasting and stuff.
Nice.
So we're going to do lots of very fun things. I'll definitely work up with a friend of mine, a very, very good friend of mine, owns an Audi R8 and a Porsche 997.2. Normally, first thing in the morning, like 5 a.m., before there's any traffic police on the roads, we'll go out for a little morning drive. That's always a lot of fun. It's very beautiful, very scenic as well. So if anyone wants to see it, be more than happy to record it.
Sounds fucking fun as hell. Take me with you, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We had the brutal heat here in New York about a week or two ago. Right now it's in the 80s, so I'll take that. Early 80s weather, you know. but yeah, I do enjoy the summer. You know, I think growing up, dealing with really, really hot summers, and then for a while, like the summers were super mild. This year is like a return to a bit of the old days of New York.
I always think, when I think about hot summers, I always think of the movie The Summer of Sam, which I absolutely love. And I don't think it gets the flowers that it deserves, quite honestly. I know, if memory serves me correctly, you guys covered that on Necromaniacs.
We did.
I'd say maybe 18 months ago.
Yeah, I think it was a Mike and Jeff episode. I love that movie. I mean, obviously Fantastic. Not a horror movie, definitely horror adjacent, as it is pretty dark. And it's definitely one of my favorite Spike Lee movies, for sure.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And it does have one of the most, I mean, it's disturbing yet also unintentionally hilarious, where they show the Summer of Sam being spoken to by his dog, and he is like, "Yes, I'll do anything, master."
Yeah. Great movie. Fuck yeah.
All right, let's dive into some new music. I'm going to give Amorphis a skip because I'm not a fan.
Wait a minute. I actually was almost looking forward to that.
Okay, all right.
Well, I say almost because I got to see their first tour of America in '94 for the Tales from a Thousand Lakes record. I actually love the first two Amorphis records. I got them right here. The Carillion Isthmus, yes,
yeah,
and Tales from the Thousand Lakes. It's after that where I struggle. So yeah, that's a long time ago. So
I will confess that I actually think Elegy has a couple of pretty good moments on. The more mellow, psychedelic Pink Floyd kind of moments on that record actually works quite well, because I don't necessarily have the biggest connection to the death metal stuff. So when they were doing those things, I wasn't listening to it the way that I think maybe people felt when they heard James Hetfield do Mama Said, where you're like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, you guys used to be, you used to be this kind of band. Now you're this kind of band. So I like those moments of Elegy. Tales from the Thousand Lakes, like I've said before, I was introduced to that really early on through Death is Just the Beginning 3.
Yep.
But my mind was so occupied by the genius of Sinister doing the track Leviathan and the music video for Pleasure of Molestation by Hypocrisy that nothing else mattered. When I saw those two things, I was all about those two bands.
Oh yeah, especially if you're a younger dude and getting into death metal, and it's like Amorphis is at that point. It's like, this might be a little light.
Yeah, they're a crushed velvet band. Sinister was not a crushed velvet band. No. They were all about worshiping the skull on that music video. But let's check this out. So this is the second single coming off the forthcoming record, which is due out on September the 26th. It says here to promote their forthcoming studio release, Borderland. Amorphis have debuted a Patrick Eulaeus directed music video for their latest single, Bones. Who does the main riff remind you of?
You know, what I was going to say was that it wasn't terrible. It's far away from the death metal days. Not terrible. I don't know. Who does it remind you of?
Therion.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's something that's very, very Therion in this latest obsession that Amorphis seems to have developed with Middle Eastern music. Now, I've not paid a huge amount of attention to them over the last decade plus, so it may well be that this obsession has been a long time coming. But there is something that is definitely reminds me a lot of late career Therion.
There's that one Therion record in the post-death beginning of the weirdness that I like, and this one song in particular.
Beginning of the weirdness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It might be the third record. It might be. I don't even know. But it was on a Nuclear Blast comp in like 2001, and I really loved it. And it's kind of slow, and it's got some female vocals on it, and it's very kind of almost like gothy and operatic. And that's like my one Therion jam. And I wish I could remember the name of the song.
Lepaka Cliffoth?
Something, yeah, somewhere along those lines. Yes, that it could be the song. But I'm going to find that one song and send it to you. That's like this one song I always remembered. My ex and I liked this one song back in like 2001, 2002.
There are a couple of very strong Therion albums. I mean, you know, their recent stuff is unlistenable, but Lepaka Cliffoth I really enjoyed. Theli I loved. There's a track on Theli called In the Night Side of Eden, which I think is masterful. Woven had its moments, and then they had this surprise in the not mid 2000s, but the early 2000s, 2004. They put out that double album, Lemuria and Sirius B. It was actually not a double album; it was 2 records they put out with different names, but fucking incredible. And they after that just completely fell off, as far as I'm concerned. You know, went on to release just a slew of total garbage. But those particular records, tier 1. Amorphis, not tier 1. I didn't enjoy that. The singing made it a lot worse.
It's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. Not great. We'll always have the first 2.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. I don't care about Ellefson Soto, but obviously Ellefson was at the Black Sabbath Back to the Beginning show.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question as we segue, because let's talk about that. Why do you think Dave Mustaine was not invited to that event? Because I was puzzled about that, and I know there's some theories about it. One being they didn't want it to feel like a de facto Big Four reunion and take away from the occasion of it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But he did seem conspicuous by his absence. Yeah,
he should have been there, in my opinion. I think all 4 of the Big Four should have been there. And I guess in a weird way, Dave Ellefson being there was, I guess, hit that mark. But no, he should have been there. I don't know what the real deal is. I just, internet chatter and whatnot. Yeah, he 100% should have been there. I think there's the obvious direct tie from Sabbath to the American, Big Four, 100%, as Sabbath was an inspiration on all of the bands, obviously. So weird. Maybe we'll learn that down the line. I think perhaps we'll learn why a bunch of people weren't there down the line. I hope we learn.
Well, there was the talk from Sharon before the event that she was going to reveal one particular artist who had made outrageous demands in terms of money.
Yep.
And my initial thought was, well, it must be Dave Mustaine. That's why he's not there. I've since learned that there's apparently rumors that it might be Motley Crue. That wouldn't surprise me either.
Yep.
But yeah, it did seem to be a very strange omission. I want to do the conversation about that show as follows. I'm going to give you a couple of things I liked and a couple of things I disliked, and then you tell me what your thoughts were. So starting with the things I liked.
Mm-hmm.
At the very top of the list, Black Sabbath's performance.
Yeah.
There was a lot of focus on Ozzy Osbourne for obvious reasons. We'll get to him in a second. But I think that to a man, that band were for the 4 songs they performed, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Even Gollum impersonator Bill Ward sounded phenomenal. Geezer Butler played like a man 40 years his junior. Tony Iommi sounded godlike, and Ozzy Osbourne sounded fantastic. They really lived up to the headline billing and to the occasion, and I think that they were absolutely fantastic and an incredible way to say farewell to the most influential band in the history of this music. Ozzy's performance, I would say, is my second favorite thing about the show. I was never the biggest fan of Ozzy's solo material.
Ah, okay.
But there is absolutely no question that a man, I believe he's aged 76, stricken with fairly severe Parkinson's, having to sit down, performed the music that he performed, not just with Black Sabbath, but the Ozzy songs, with no backing tracks, no assistant. He sounded better than many of the younger men that went on stage. And understandably, there was no dry eye in the house when they did Mama, I'm Coming Home.
Yeah, that was really awesome. I mean, honestly, they picked all the right Ozzy solo songs, you know, the bangers. He sang as many as he could. They probably could have included 1 or 2 more if he was up to snuff. But to sing sitting down, to sing stricken with Parkinson's at 76, I mean, yeah, he was fucking great. I was a little nervous about what he would sound like, honestly, for both sets, because when news would you get the drips and drabs leading up to the show of, well, he's only doing a few songs and it's not a full set. And I was just like, okay, well, what does all this mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? But thankfully, it meant since it's only about 4 songs, you're going to get a strong performance. You know what I'm saying? I think he did as much as he could. And, you know, the crowd was really moved. And it was interesting. I watched the entire thing, okay? Start to finish, basically. And the crowd, like, by the time you get to Metallica and GNR, it gets kind of more and more full if you really are paying attention to the floor, so to speak. And by the time you get to Ozzy solo and Sabbath, it is like a mob scene, I feel like, the floor, you know. And, you know, all the close-ups you get, and you see people crying and people singing along. It was very fucking moving. And, yeah, those are definite highlights for sure.
You know what I loved as well about both performances, Ozzy and Black Sabbath? You could tell that they were really savoring every minute that they were on that stage. Like, they knew the grandiosity of it. This wasn't just like they weren't phoning in a performance. They were trying to really be in the moment and extract every last ounce of satisfaction and pleasure that they were going to get from it. I think the whole atmosphere of the event, quite honestly, was quite different to what I had expected. I didn't go myself. I know a lot of people that did. Watching it, you certainly got the sense that the atmosphere was very celebratory, and it really felt to me like a fitting tribute to the band. I honestly was expecting the worst. I didn't think it was gonna be presented in the way that it was ultimately presented. So I think that was great. Another thing I really liked, surprisingly, Tool. I thought they had the cover song of the day. Hand of Doom, the way they did it, in their style, staying true to the spirit of the song, but bringing something fresh and interesting to it. Absolutely fucking top-notch performance by them.
I was Facebook posting as I was watching it, and I commented that thus far Tool have the best sound of the day. And they did have the best sound, in my opinion. And they sound like, and you could tell they knew their cover. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was something about how they did it. It was like, yeah, these motherfuckers know that song, you know? And everyone in that band is a great musician. I really only love Opiate and Undertow and a little bit of the record after that. And then I kind of punch out of Tool. But I respect the hell out of them, you know what I'm saying? And they were one of the highlights of the day. Yeah, I think they actually were. As a surprise to me, honestly.
Yeah, no, totally. I'd say another thing that I very much enjoyed about the day, I loved the fact that Slayer did not give a fuck. You could tell that some of the other bands that were there, arguably Pantera played songs that they knew would be a little more palatable to a bigger audience. They didn't go in there and do a New Level or fucking Hostile or some of the heavier stuff. They did Cowboys from Hell and Walk. Slayer comes on. Tom has got this grin on his face, almost like he knows what he's about to do.
Yes.
And he starts the very famous introduction. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And everyone knows, like anyone who's anyone, there was a load of celebrities there and a load of people that didn't know anything, probably even about Black Sabbath, I would argue, but certainly didn't know anything about Slayer. But people that knew when they heard, are you ready? They knew what's coming. And then they kick into War Ensemble and there's just no fucking around. Like Slayer was just Slayer. And I loved it. It gave me goosebumps to see it.
There was something very cool and raw and punkish about their set.
Yes.
That was obviously none of the other sets had, in my opinion. It was very fuck you. It was We Don't Give a Fuck. And their cover was really cool. It was really cool to hear them fucking do that song. Tom sounded good. He looked happy, I know Tom was a big reason why the band ended. So to see Tom up there looking very happy made me happy. Tom is one of my biggest inspirations as a vocalist and musician, honestly. So yeah, I thought they were a lot of fun. I would love to have heard a little more, but they only had what they had. I thought Pantera was a bore. I'm probably in the minority. I felt like Phil just stands there now. Is that what goes on at Pantera now? Does Phil just stand there barefoot and just not even move at all? Like, I don't know. Like, look, I got to see Pantera between 90 and 94 4 times. And that's a long time ago. I get it. But if David Lee Roth is moving around more than Phil Anselmo, we have a fucking problem, Jackie. I saw David Lee Roth in May, and that guy is 70-something. And Steven Tyler moves around more than Phil Anselmo. Am I crazy or what here?
No, I don't. I think so. Pantera were an interesting one to me. I thought the Planet Caravan cover was exceptional.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I think that they should have, if they had taken the same stance as Slayer and they'd come in there and they did Goddamn Electric or Yesterday Don't Mean Shit and New Level, or they belted out some fucking heavy stuff and then they finish off with Planet Caravan, that would have been awesome. I also would say Electric Funeral was an okay cover, but really it was a missed opportunity not to wheel out the old one, Kirk Winstein, for that.
No,
it would have been so much cooler, just to spice things up a little bit, to say, let's bring Pepper and Kirk on, almost do like a down Pantera kind of tribute to Black Sabbath.
Just talking about from just the overall energy perspective, I don't know. Like, yeah. I love Phil Anselmo, and I love the old Pantera stuff, and I don't know. I think the people seeing them now are the younger generation who never got to see what I saw. Okay. And that's great. And that's cool. And that's important. But I would hope that it's a little more oomph or a little more lively. Like even Zach Wilde, I don't know. Like everybody like is asleep up there. I hope I'm not the only one thinking this. I have a feeling I'm not the only one thinking this.
No. I don't think that you are. It's also a segue into a couple of things that I didn't like. So the first and foremost, how do you do a tribute to Black Sabbath without the song Black Sabbath being performed?
Yes.
Neither by Black Sabbath, which I read today. Apparently, there was concern over whether Bill would be able to play it. I don't know why. It's not a very hard song to play. I would argue War Pigs is a tougher song to play, but be that as it may.
Bill?
If you weren't going to play the song, at least have one of the other bands covering it.
Agree.
Maybe the romantic in me wants to say, well, you felt that the Typo Negative cover on Nativity in Black was so great that there's absolutely no point in anybody else even bothering to do it. Fair enough. But to do a Black Sabbath tribute without, in my view, their signature song, the song that is named after the band, is it's criminal.
it is one of their biggest songs, and it is their signature. It is one of their signature songs. It's one of their biggest songs. Everybody knows that song.
Yeah.
Very odd omission. Yes, very odd omission.
The next thing that I didn't like, Youngblood. Now I'm not detracting from the fact that he sounded okay when he was doing Changes. Why we needed to hear two separate versions of Changes, I don't know. I've never thought it's a very good song, but again, that's a side note. But if you had to write down the names of people that would have been appropriate to include at this event, I think Youngblood would maybe be on page 700 or 800 if you're writing really fine. Glenn Danzig could have been there. You could have invited. I mean, we could go down a list of people. I mean, frankly, as you said earlier, I think Dave Mustaine should have been there. As much as I think he's a dickhead, but there's so many people that could have been there in his place. And if this is you'd look at it if you're cynical and say, well, Sharon's doing it because she wants to open Black Sabbath to a bigger audience. The fans of Youngblood don't know who Black Sabbath are in the main. Maybe there's a few exceptions, but I doubt they know who Black Sabbath are, and they don't give a fuck. So why have him there?
Okay, we have a difference of opinion.
What?
I loved his Changes. I loved it, actually. I didn't know who the fuck he was, my friend. I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know who he was until a week ago. Never heard of him. I'm 51-year-old American here. No clue who he was. I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. And then I saw some video footage of him and Ozzy backstage, and I was like, why do I not hate this guy? I kind of like this guy. I guess you're over there, I don't know what his footprint is in America. I don't think he's that well known here, actually.
No, well, you know how I know him. Actually, my daughter likes him.
Yes, so there you go.
So maybe that's why.
I thought he was good, man. I actually thought he was way better than Billy fucking Corgan. I'll tell you that.
Well, I mean, that's another person I don't quite understand why he was there. I mean, I know he interviewed Sharon on his podcast a couple of months ago, but I mean, that's about it. I actually don't mind Siamese Dream. By Smashing Pumpkins. I don't see a crazy Black Sabbath influence in what they do.
Here's the thing. I said this to my brother. It's like the retconning of Billy Corgan as a metalhead. And
yes,
let's be honest, man. Look, metal was a dirty fucking word. 91, 95. Okay, more than that. And these grunge motherfuckers were probably taking the piss on metal back then.
Yeah.
I never saw Billy Corgan as this tremendous metalhead, as heavy as Pumpkins got, okay? That world was not the heavy metal world. And Billy Corgan is, to some degree, again, I guarantee he was a metalhead at one point in his life, okay, as a young man, right? But he is not known for being a big metal head guy, in my opinion. The grunge alternative rock thing is not the metal world. It's two different worlds. But I'm not going to totally hate on him because I actually really like the first two Pumpkins records, and I actually saw them in 91. But he couldn't sing the easiest Judas Priest song to sing, Breaking the Law. Okay. That is literally one of the easiest songs. If you went to karaoke, you could do a good Breaking the Law. I could do a good Breaking the Law. He didn't even do a good Breaking the Law, in my opinion. He sounded awkward. It sounded like, I don't know, man. I was just like, oh boy,
You've also highlighted something else I didn't like: non-Black Sabbath covers. Breaking the Law is fine, but there's going to be a farewell show for Judas Priest in the next 5 years at most. All of those, it's all the bands they covered, all fine bands in their own right, but the occasion was Black Sabbath. I felt that it was taking away from the focus by covering other bands' music.
Okay, agree. Having Steven Tyler come out, who did phenomenal for a guy who supposedly couldn't sing anymore, 77, being literally one of the best of the day, why didn't he sing a Sabbath song? Like, you know, I would have liked to have heard. Imagine him doing a Sabbath song. That would have been really cool. No.
Well, I tell you what would have worked a lot better, and this brings us to my fourth thing that I didn't like. He could have stood in for Axl Rose. I mean, Axl Rose now sounds like Herbert the Pervert of Family Guy, no question.
Yeah,
and in some ways, it's a biblical kind of justice, because he was the man who was responsible for the disintegration of Guns N' Roses, robbed Guns N' Roses fans of at least 10 to 20 years worth of Guns N' Roses music. And he did it because he was a mark for his own excellence. And there's no question that he was excellent. He was one of these guys that you could not possibly replace him in Guns N' Roses, and he knew it, and he flexed that leverage, and that led to the dissolution of the band. Now, if you looked at them and I was thinking about this after seeing their performance, the band sounded fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
If you listen to the actual instrumental performance of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which is what they covered, phenomenal.
Amazing.
Axl just sounds fucking atrocious.
Here's the thing. It really does suck, because the band sounds phenomenal, and now he sounds like a combination of Herbert, Mickey Mouse, and Mr. Hanky from South Park. And it's just really not, it's sad, because like the Chinese Democracy vocals were actually really good, and the vocals after that were really good, but something clearly happened in the last 5 years, maybe a little more. And the biggest mind blower is that they're still selling out arenas and stadiums with those vocals, Jackie. Like, isn't that insane?
You know, I have a really soft spot for their cover of It's All Right, because the first full-length show that I ever saw of a band that I liked was Guns N' Roses live in Paris, and they do that right before they do November Rain. I wasn't familiar with the song when I heard that the first time. I was only 12 years old. When I heard that, it was so fucking cool. So when they started with it at Back to the Beginning, I was like, oh, fucking great. And when the vocals began, I was like, oh my God, that's bad.
Yeah, I've had friends and people online saying, well, no, he got better as it went along. And I went, he did? It got better? Like, but here, I think at this point with Guns N' Roses, it's a brand. You're going to see a brand. You're going to see a business. You're not there for his vocals. You're there for the experience of seeing Guns N' Roses. And for a lot of people, that's enough. And for a lot of people, that's enough to pay $300, maybe more. I mean, it's, you know, I did get to see them once in '91 with Soundgarden at Madison Square Garden. And that's a great memory. I love Guns N' Roses. I love Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. I love Appetite. I love Lies. Love it.
I saw Guns N' Roses in, I think it was 2006 or 2007, playing the Hammersmith Apollo in London, which for them is a very small venue. So it was an opportunity to see them. And I remember at the time you could only get the tickets through a lottery. I happened to, fortunately my numbers came up, and I happened to be able to buy tickets for it. But that show was fucking fantastic. With the exception of the fact that Axl made everybody wait until 11 to turn up. And in the UK, usually the curfew is at 11. So, that's when the doors shut. He didn't give a shit. Yeah, the show only started at 11. But besides that, the show was phenomenal.
Was that with Bumblefoot on guitar or Buckethead?
Yeah. Bumblefoot, I think.
Side note, Ron Thal, Bumblefoot, produced the first 2 Inhuman records.
Oh, wow.
Yes. He had a studio in Brooklyn in the 90s, and Inhuman did our first 2 records with him. He produced and engineered them. And another Brooklyn hardcore band, Indecision, did 2 records with him as well. So
I know Indecision.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my synopsis really of the show. The only other side beef I had was I thought the Children of the Grave cover by Lamb of God was lame as fuck. I think the White Zombie cover on Nativity in Black is a million times better.
That is good. Yes.
Yeah, that's excellent. As a matter of fact, I would argue, with the exception of Hand of Doom, all the covers on Nativity in Black are better than any of the covers we heard during the day.
Yeah, that's a great record.
That's just me.
That's really good.
Well, here's an obvious miss. Where was Max and Igor to do Symptom of the Universe?
Yeah. Again, they should have been there. I think Danzig should have been there. I think Dave Mustaine should have been there. And if we were doing nods to other people and tributes, whatever, is Sharon's hatred of Dio that deep that they couldn't have done a moment? A moment. I mean, this is about Black Sabbath too. I get it. Mm. That's Black Sabbath, and Dio revived Black Sabbath from literal obscurity in the 80s. So, I mean, it would have been nice for a momentary nod. Do you think?
I very strongly agree. I had just assumed it was, because her hand was in it and Ozzy was there, that they were gonna act like that era of the band didn't exist.
Yeah.
We all all of the Legion know my favorite Black Sabbath album is Dehumanizer. So
well, see, there you go.
I don't say that to be contrarian. It's been my favorite Black Sabbath album forever. I fucking love that record. I love Ronnie James Dio. So
mine is actually Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. How about that?
Okay, that's a good. That's a good choice too. But you know what? This is, I think, maybe part of the reason why I didn't want to go. I don't know how you feel about this, and I don't want to get too existential, but I don't like growing older. When these things happen, it reminds me that I'm growing older. So I try to avoid it. And again, when I was finished watching it, I thought, in the next 10 years, we're going to be doing these for Judas Priest, unquestionably. Metallica, most likely. Yep. James is 61 or 62 years old now. I'm not sure he's going to go beyond 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it feels to me like all these eras are going to start ending in increasingly rapid succession. And I find that quite depressing.
My good friend, Ed McNamara, said something really profound that stuck with me for the last week. He said, as awesome as it was great. It was fun to watch. I couldn't help but think I was watching a funeral for metal in the mainstream.
Well, I mean, I've spoken about this a couple of weeks ago, actually. This idea that a lot of the a lot of the bands like Metallica, I don't personally think has done enough to hand the torch to proper metal bands.
Agree.
And as a result, when they leave, I don't actually think there are strong enough bands in the next generation waiting in the wings to sell out a Download festival, as an example, which is why Download is basically turning into Glastonbury with a few more heavy bands. The passing of the torch has not, I don't believe, and people will disagree with us, but I don't believe has been done to the degree that it guarantees the longevity of the genre, at least in the mainstream, to your point.
Look, we have bands that are doing well and are younger, so to speak, and playing very big rooms or arenas, whatever. But there's only a small handful. There's like Ghost, and there's Gojira. And look, I don't know. Sleep Token is kind of metal, but to a lot of people, they're not. It's not a long list, okay, of newer era seat fillers, man. It's not a huge list. The list probably needs to be bigger. So I kind of agree with you there. Look, we've got an ass ton of young death metal. We've got an ass ton of young black metal, and that's great. But when it comes to what we saw last week, I do feel like that is it. Like, it needs a bigger future.
Well, if that wasn't the funeral, the Metallica farewell certainly will be. And as I said, that is, I don't see that being more than 10 years away.
Within 10 years, yes. From Maiden, Priest, and Metallica, those three bands within the next 10 years, yes, 1,000%.
Which is a scary thought.
Yes.
And again, I don't begrudge Sleep Token their success, but I would far prefer bands like Crypt Sermon, Spirit World, Fugitive. Those are the bands that the torch should be handed to. They are the ones that Metallica should be taking out on tour with them. At least one of them should have been at Back to the Beginning.
Well, they took Gojira out a couple of years ago. The thing is, like I said, it's just the list isn't that big. And I don't know, maybe that's okay. I mean, I don't know. Look, most of my metal taste is pretty underground, as is yours, obviously. Yeah. But watching that reminds me of my younger days, and it reminds me of why I fell in love with metal and why metal still matters to me. And it does make me think about mortality. It makes me think about the future. It makes me think about, wow, like, who's next?
Yeah, no, unquestionably. One of the bands that made me fall in love, well, they actually came a fair few years after I'd already gotten into metal, but in terms of importance in my life, one of the most important bands that I ever discovered and always will be, Paradise Lost, present a brand new single, Serpent on the Cross. It says here, Serpent on the Cross, the second single from Paradise Lost's forthcoming studio record Ascension, has debuted online in the form of an official music video created by Lars Christopher Hormander. I absolutely adored the first single of this forthcoming record. Yeah, instantly felt like it was better than anything off the previous album. So expectations are very high for this one. Let's hear what it sounds like. What do you think?
I like the song. I like the first single. I like this one. Video's a little no bueno for me, but the song is good.
Yeah, AI music videos. I find them less reprehensible than I do AI album covers for some reason. And it's partly because I don't really care about AI. I don't care about music videos. It's never been anything that's been of any real significance to me. It was great in the early days when you were watching MTV Headbangers Ball and you were picking up stuff there. That was awesome.
Right.
But for the most part, music videos are never a thing to me. And if I compare this to the music video for Faith Unites Us, Faith Divides Us, Death Unites Us, you got fucking just 6 minutes of people weeping. I mean, I'd sooner see computer graphics than that.
Yeah. Oh, I saw Paradise Lost about 6 weeks ago in New York. They were fucking amazing, man. They were so good.
Dude, they're an incredible band. And I love the song. I know my friend Marco from Stellar Master Elite was not a fan, but I think it's great. I think this is a song that could fit very comfortably on Medusa or on The Plague Within. It does kind of blow out of the water my theory that they were going to go back, and actually I would say my and the Sinister Minister's theory that they were going to go back to sort of mid-career sound Paradise Lost. That's certainly where the previous previous single seemed to go. The other thing that I would say is I'm missing a little bit of the clean vocals. I think that chorus right before, or not chorus, but bridge, whatever you want to call it, right before we stopped, I think it would have benefited from some Nick Holmes clean singing. But, I might be wrong on that.
I got to be honest. When the riffs are there and the music is good, I want his clean vocals sometimes. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Like, it's like that's what, I don't know, is a part of their coolness. Like, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes his depth stuff in areas is a little, I don't want to use the word goofy, but it's like you're wishing it, I don't know. It's like you're wishing it wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't, it doesn't, his clean vocals are like a blanket that wraps around the music. And the death vocals kind of just seem to sort of sit in the background. And they limit the impact of a moment in the song that could otherwise have really meant something. It's like Aaron, My Dying Bride's clean vocals. I have he uses them well, like they're where they should be. I always feel like My Dying Bride, or should I say formerly? Well, things are wilding up. Our friend Cheyenne from Iblis Manifestations, the excellent interview that he did with Aaron, and if anybody hasn't listened to that yet, I strongly urge them to do so. He did a superb job, but that got picked up by Blabbermouth. Somebody, and I don't know if it's somebody from the band or an insider or someone, went onto the YouTube video and posted a comment as a response to every other comment, basically saying that Aaron was trying to push the other members of the band out and turn it into a solo project.
What?
My personal view, as somebody who has gotten to know him a little bit, I don't believe it until I see evidence. I also don't see why somebody will have, behaved in a certain way or have been in music for 30 years and suddenly after 3 decades, he now exhibits this kind of behavior. I've not known of behavior like this from him before. He doesn't strike me as somebody who would behave that way. So I think there's much more drama to come. But what I will say, I saw a clip of My Dying Bride performing in Slovakia with the gentleman from Swallow the Sun. It sounded god-awful. So I don't care who the fuck they replace him with. They cannot continue. I don't accept, as a My Dying Bride fan, I do not accept that band without Aaron as the vocalist.
So they kicked him out?
Doesn't seem that way. So the theory, according to this person, is that he wants to stay in the band. I mean, this also doesn't make much logical sense, but he wants to stay connected to the band so that he can force them to kick him out so that he can play the victim.
But he's not in the band anymore.
Well, according to him, he is in the band. But according to them, they haven't said he's not in the band yet. So, as I said, there's the drama mounts. But either way, if he's not in the band, it's just not My Dying Bride. So carry on as you will, but I'm not interested in the music you make.
This is confusing. It's still very confusing, despite any interviews. And normally, things are kind of like the Skid Row thing. Sebastian was a huge pain in the balls, and they all hate his guts, and that's why he's not in the band. Okay, that's what happened. This is way harder to figure out.
Yeah. I just, as I said, until I see evidence to the contrary, and I don't say this is a dig on on any member of the band. Andrew had him on the show, liked him very much. great respect for him as a guitarist and as a musician, as a songwriter. But unfortunately, the reality is Aaron's vocals are irreplaceable.
Agree. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to see a My Dying Bride without him. I gotta be honest. Yeah.
Next up, we've got Green Carnation, who premiere a new single called In Your Paradise. It says here, Progressive Metal Masters Green Carnation are back with a brand new single, In Your Paradise. The song serves as a first taste of their upcoming highly anticipated new long player, A Dark Poem Part 1, The Shores of Melancholia, due out on September the 5th via Season of Mist. A lot of people hold this band in exceptionally high regard, and they have never, ever moved the needle beyond the 1,000 RPM mark for me.
Yeah, I remember this band. I remember the name. They never did anything for me either. I know exactly who this band is. They got a whole bunch of records out. Never really did it for me. But let's hear it.
All right, let's spin it. You know what I can't stop thinking about as I'm listening to the song?
What?
You know the scene on Seinfeld where Newman and Kramer are trying to sell the old man's vinyl to that vinyl store?
Yes, yes.
And they can't understand why nobody would pay them more money for Sergio Mendes. And Newman shouts, "Sergio Mendes can't go to the bathroom in South America."
Oh my God!
It reminds me of, for whatever reason, I couldn't not think of that when I was listening to this. It's like a band that, you know, there are people that are going to absolutely, I mean, there's probably thousands of people with Green Carnation tattoos thinking this is the best thing on the face of the earth, and anybody who thinks otherwise is completely insane. But I'm afraid I'm on the outside looking in. I do not see the appeal. The riff is okay.
Yeah.
The recording is all right.
Yeah.
But it lacks the appropriate levels of testosterone for me to be even vaguely interested.
The chorus was good. The verses, I was like, is this like a Jack Black Tenacious D goof? Like, what is this? Like, that chorus is pretty good. The video is way better than the Paradise Lost video. Why couldn't they have made something cool, like just them, playing and,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not for me. Too much Tenacious D for me. Yeah.
Now that you've said Tenacious D, that's not something I'll be able to unhear either.
Yep.
I do want to, before we carry on, I do need to give a quick swirly of the week.
No. Oh, you like?
So the swirly of the week this week goes to an establishment in Birmingham who call themselves Spoilers Digbeth. They used the Black Sabbath Back to the Beginning show as an opportunity for them to remind us all that they are our moral betters by posting on their social media We don't serve Coke because it's on a boycott list. We won't be supporting a concert involving Pantera or Sharon Osbourne. Our gig on the night is free and not full of hate.
Oh my God. Oh, douche.
Now, I don't know whether Big Metal buried the stories of people being hated upon and bigotry running rampant at Villa Park. But this kind of reminds me a little bit of the outcry when Eclipse was confirmed for Fortress Festival this year. I happen to have it on good authority that people wrote the promoter saying that at the moment they don't feel safe enough to be able to buy a ticket to the event. And again, the Eclipse gentleman walked freely amongst the rest of the concert goers for all of Sunday. Didn't see one trans person or any person that was of any protected group being targeted for abuse, violence, harassment, or anything else.
Whatever. The Pantera thing, it's over, man. Pantera won. He did a stupid thing a couple of years back. He apologized. He's profusely apologized.
Yeah,
and obviously he's been forgiven. Obviously, don't you agree?
Not by some. The truly virtuous, and this is why when Cheyenne and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, I said these, for people that hate Christians as much as these people profess to, they certainly act an awful lot like the folks from the Westboro Baptist Church. If you replace Satan, or in their vernacular, if you replace Nazi and hate with Satan, it's basically a Fred Phelps sermon.
Yeah, they're all the same. It's the same thing, and it's just switched around words. Honestly, it's the same nonsense.
In the case of Phil Anselmo, you commit the original sin, and you can never be forgiven. Nothing short of him emptying the barrel of a shotgun in his mouth will ever make them forgive him. He did something stupid in 2016. It's almost 10 years ago.
10 years, yeah.
As you say, apologized profusely, has called people out in his audience for doing things that even hinted at that. And still, that's not good enough.
Yeah, I look, unless you've, serial killed, I think your apology is pretty good. And if you're a person of your word and you move forward and you grow, you know what I'm saying? And you don't do it again and again. I think Phil Anselmo has largely been forgiven. Largely.
Yeah, he's not Tim from As I Lay Crying. But what I would say is, spoilers, Digbeth, fuck you. And if I ever accidentally drove into Birmingham, because I would never go there of my own free will, accidentally, and I would say this with the greatest respect to any member of the Legion who lives in Birmingham, I've been there once and I vowed never again. If I do ever accidentally go there, I will know to never go to Spoilers Digbeth. I would sooner run into a lamppost until I am laying down in a puddle of blood and vomit of my own infliction than attend or then go anywhere near this place.
So Back to the Beginning was a festival of hate.
Like we were talking about this when we were doing the thrash metal.
That's literally the funniest thing I've heard all week.
When we were doing the thrash metal special, you were talking about like the early days of CBGBs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It must to a guy who's been around to see as many shifts in the scene and as many things happening as you've seen. It must be insane to hear stuff like that.
No, it is. It is insane, and it's also humorous. Let's just say, I don't want to be that guy, but man, a lot of people wouldn't have made it out of the 80s and 90s, man.
No,
they just wouldn't have made it out. They wouldn't have made it past a show or two, honestly, man. I've seen some things in my 52 years. That's all I got to say.
What is the most like out of control, crazy, violent pit that you ever saw? I've said mine. Forum 2002, Biohazard headlined, and it was I counted 8 people being taken out by paramedics. It was the most fucking insane thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But what was yours?
One is in 1990 to promote Seasons in the Abyss. Slayer did a string of smaller club shows called A Week in the Abyss. And one of the dates was at Lemoore in Brooklyn. It was September 1990, August, September 1990. Wow. that was really bad, both outside the club and inside the club. Multiple fights, like blood, beer bottles broken over heads, just bad, really bad news.
They had an air to them in the 80s and the early 90s. I remember seeing, if you go on YouTube, you can look up old clips of them playing in 1985, 1984, and there was just the audience is just rabid.
Here's something that's also kind of odd. A couple years later at the same club, Rob Halford's Fight played Lemoore. Remember Fight? That first album, Pantera Rip, Pseudo Thrash, pretty good actually, the Fight record.
Yeah, I like it as well.
Yeah. They played Lemoore. And for whatever reason, it drew a lot of like bikers and a lot of like tough older dudes. And there was a tremendous brawl during Fight that spilled out into the street. And I watched that happen. That was pretty wild. And
you get that with some of the older bands, though. I saw it to a small degree at Biohazard. I definitely saw it at Sick of It All. I saw it at Sepultura when I saw Sepultura in 2003. You get the guys that are now our age. They go to these shows and they are in no mood to be pushed, bumped, or otherwise inconvenienced by some 18-year-old. And when it has happened a few too many times, they lay down the law. It usually ends up being very messy.
Yeah, a lot of the hardcore shows or metal hardcore shows at Lemoore were really buck wild. CBGB's 88 to 90 was insane. A lot of shows just got too crazy, which is why they literally stopped matinees for about 2 years at CB's, because it just got to be too much. The club had enough. So I got to witness all that. The death metal pits were really cool too. I mean, violent, but not like the hardcore ones. The hardcore ones were kind of worse, honestly.
Yeah.
Suicidal, Biohazard, Leeway at Lemoore, out of control fights. Just
my friend Lee Orsifo who did one of my tattoos. He and I were talking about it once, and he said the scariest thing he ever saw was Biohazard at Lemoore. He said it was like you literally were in fear of your life.
Yeah, they were. I first saw them in May of '89, and at Lemoore. I was 15, and they'd only been around 1 year. Actually, they were still playing off the demo and selling the demo at that show, but they were getting big fast, and they were the headliner of this particular show. And I remember they played with a tremendous American flag backdrop. And they closed with a cover of "We're an American Band," the old song from the 70s.
That's fucking cool. I love that they did that.
Yes, they did. And that was a really fun show. Two local bands played that, Social Disorder from Brooklyn, a hardcore band, and a thrash band, First Order, were really good. That was a really fun show. I got to see a lot, man. I got to see a lot of fun shit.
We need to have an episode one day where we talk specifically about hardcore, because there's so much I want to ask you. Because hardcore was something that I got into in South Africa, but it was I would say in some ways more underground than black or death metal, and there was nobody besides me and one other guy that was in any way interested in it. So everything we discovered, you had to discover through Thrasher magazine, or just reading credits. Like you get a record by All Out War, and it's like, okay, go through all the credits. Who did they thank? Who have they toured with? And then it's like, and that's how you discover new stuff. I discovered Agnostic Front totally by accident, but fucking phenomenal band. And everything was like that. I think Biohazard was an exception because they were signed to Roadrunner.
Yep.
yeah, again, I was the only one I knew who enjoyed State of the World Address. Myself and one of my friends.
Yeah, I went to the record release for that in 1990 at Lemoore. Yeah, man, it was a fun fucking time, Life of Agony played with my old band Confusion a bunch. Saw all their early shows. Obviously, all the Typo shows. Every single time Typo played Brooklyn and New York, I was there. I was at every single show. So, me and all my friends.
I only got to see Typo once, but it was one of my favorite shows ever. In part because I think Johnny Kelly, when he plays with any band, they sound better live because he's there. And I've seen him drum for Danzig. I've seen him drum for a couple of bands, and he always makes everything sound so cool. He's got such a live groove, and things are just a hair faster. But when he played with Typo, when I saw them on, and this was on Dead Again when they were touring for that record, fucking amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Mayhem are in the studio making new music. I do believe I predicted this a couple of months ago. I was asked a question as to what albums that haven't been announced yet I was looking forward to, and I said I think it's time for Mayhem to probably do a new album. Looks like probably if they in the studio recording it now, they're going to be doing a release maybe in 2026, but we'll see. High Parasite have dropped a new single. So we were talking about Aaron Stainthorpe earlier. Before we listen to the song, did you enjoy the High Parasite record?
I liked it. I don't go back to it much, but I liked it. I have not heard this. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it very much. It has grown on me, and I've enjoyed it more. And it is definitely, you can tell that Aaron Stainthorpe is having the time of his life doing it. Like, there's no question about that. So it says here, British gothic metal ensemble High Parasite have shared a brand new single titled Cold. The accompanying music video was directed and edited by Will Norbury. Let's hear what it sounds like. Something that they did on the debut album that I really, really enjoyed was when Toombs / Danny Lambert, the band's guitarist, when he and Aaron bounce vocals off each other. They did it on a song called Hate Springs Eternal. I think it was the song Hate Springs Eternal. And it was fucking excellent. It's the highlight of the record. Great to hear them do it on this song because I think it really adds to it.
Okay, I'm going to say something. He should just stick to clean vocals on this here. I think the screaming thing was awkward. And
oh, really? I quite like that.
I don't know. Like, I almost feel like if this is going to be his more, quote, mainstreamy project, or easier listening project, then go full force on that. Like the flirtations with the death vocals. I don't know. I felt like that was
So that's not Aaron singing. That's Toombs doing the clean singing.
Oh,
and then the growls are Aaron.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Someone might come out of the woodwork and tell me you're completely wrong, but that's not Aaron singing. That's Toombs.
Really? See, I thought the screaming was weird sounding. Maybe it's how I'm hearing it here.
Yeah.
In this particular format, I'll have to go back and listen to that. But because I know that on the prior record he did some singing,
Yeah, so he does singing on the previous record, quite a lot of singing actually.
Yeah.
This was the point that I made. Like the when that album was at its best to me is when you had the dueling vocals between Danny and Aaron, and I think that would work whether they do clean singing, whether Aaron does the death metal singing. I know that that's not going to be something that they do regularly, like he said on the interview with Cheyenne, that he kind of needs to give himself a breather when he's on stage, so that he's not constantly doing those types of vocals. But I think on this song it works quite well.
Yeah, see, like I feel like this band is the band that he wants to be not so heavy, obviously.
Yeah,
and that's fine because this is actually pretty damn good. So
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. Right, let's grab one or two more. Gorguts, new album coming out in 2026. I like me some Gorguts, so looking forward to that. What else have we got? Yeah, Architects, don't give a shit. Pilgrimage, no idea who they are. Black Braid have got a new single. You want to give that a listen?
Sure.
You sound very... What's the right word? Sardonic?
Yeah. But let's hear it. I'm going to hear it.
You want to hear it?
I want to hear it out.
All right, let's check it out. As part of the upcoming studio release, I keep saying Black Blade. I don't know what the fuck's wrong. Black Braid 3. That would have been a cool name for a band. Black Braid 3, due out on August the 8th. Black Braid now stream a music video for the second single titled The Dying Breath of a Sacred Stag. What are your thoughts?
Not terrible. It's just I can't get into this band. I can't. I don't take this guy seriously. I don't know. I can't get into this band at all. Like, yeah.
What is it about him that you struggle with? And I don't mean that. There's no. I'm not saying that with any kind of agenda or anything. I am genuinely just curious.
That the incident that took place, just made me see him like, I don't know. It just left a bad taste in my mouth, you know. And I'm trying to see past that incident because you know what? I've been drunk too, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I feel like I like a different kind of black metal to a degree. And it's just, I don't know. It seems very clean and safe and very like not authentic to me.
Yeah, I can see that to a point. Look, my view when the incident took place, and this was the Midgard's Blot incident, for anybody that doesn't know, when the incident took place, I felt like I'd spoken with him, I'd met him, he seemed like a very nice guy. You get drunk, you do stupid things, and in my mind, we spoke about Pantera earlier, Guns N' Roses. I mean, there was rarely a day that went by when those guys weren't doing something reprehensible in their heyday. I would have liked to have seen him own up to it a little bit more and apologize more and come out and say, "Look, I fucked up. I'm really sorry. It's not like me." I think like what I would expect as a man, what I would expect is if something like that happens, you step up and you go, I made a mistake, and honestly, he could have come on and spoken about it, and it would have gone some way towards discussing it, maybe rehabilitating his image amongst people. Musically, I actually don't mind this. I think that it reminds me a little bit of Immortal, but I am with you to a point where the kind of black metal I prefer tends to be a lot filthier. And there's an interesting, at kind of a macro level, there's this interesting divergence in black metal at the moment where I find there's this, I don't know whether you want to call it emotional black metal or what it is, but it's music that doesn't sound like it's written from a place of anger. It's written from a place of misery. And then there's the shit I like, which is furious, violent, just everything fucking obliterated black metal. That's what I love, and that's what I gravitate towards immediately.
It's funny, like I've referred to certain black metal as noisy crap black metal, right?
Yeah.
I don't really like that too much. Then there's this, which I will just say it's like easy listening black metal. It is a bit like the latter Immortal, which I actually do like a lot, but I like that. Like I like Immortal, And it also is in that family of Wolves in the Throne Room, who I also do like. I don't go back to them much anymore, but their early shit is fucking awesome. And I think they were like at the forefront of creating that kind of sound. And another band that's in their wheelhouse who I love, but again, I love them, is Agalloch. To me, again, they are like an OG of like this kind of different black metal sound that comes from a different place. That's not Satan, Satan, Satan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my speed is more Satan, Satan, Satan.
Yeah, like it's weird. Yeah. I'm kind of in this weird in-between place, because I absolutely love like the Von demos, okay? And that you could argue is in the Satan, 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 but that band literally like invented a style of fucking playing, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like a singular, very repetitive style of black metal that they accidentally fucking put on the map 30 something years ago, what this guy is doing is it's nothing new. I think it's, again, I almost feel like it's black metal for a different type of generation and a different type of black metal fan.
Definitely a different type of black metal fan. I think you're right there. And I can see that distinction when I look at, some of the lineups at some of the festivals that kind of tend to cater a lot towards black metal. You have some black metal lineups that is towards the harsher, the angrier side. And I'm going to co-opt a phrase that you just used, but probably bring it into my vernacular on a permanent basis, but easy listening black metal. And easy listening black metal sometimes it's okay, but in the main, it just doesn't do anything for me. I don't get excited hearing it.
And like the noisy crap stuff, again, some of it is good, but there's a lot of it out there, you know? And I feel like there's a good amount of the lighter black metal out there too, you know? I don't know. I get very traditionalist, I think. Like I go back to my Dark Thrones, I go back to my Absu, I go back to Marduk, and certain stuff, it's just there. Like, you know what I'm saying? It hits the spot, you know? Newer stuff, a lot of new death metal is striking a chord with me. It's harder for certain newer black metal to hit me for these days.
Have you checked out the new Titan Blood album?
No, because they're a band that I feel like I've struggled to get into for 10 something years. Like there was a time when I did like it, and I go back to some of it, and they literally, some of it is noisy crap black metal to me. Like I don't like, even though they're a death metal band, but it's death metal, black metal. Like they're kind of both, and they're very like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that band anymore.
I would strongly suggest you check it out. The new record, it is magnificent. And then another one that I would suggest you check out if you want to be convinced on a newer black metal band. I've mentioned this before. Serpents, an album called Desert Psalms. That was put out on Norma Evangelium Diaboli. Usually a mark of excellence when it comes to black metal. Phenomenal record. Here's something that I wanted us to talk about very quickly before we wrap up with the last song. I had a few leftover questions from the Legion, one in particular that I wanted to get your take on. Riley Rust Fish Hunt has sent a question in. Is there an unknown underground band that you feel simply did not get the break they deserved? I have an answer, but I would love to hear what you say.
The Devil. Jesus. I mean, God, like, the band was phenomenal, and I can't believe he's dead. Like, it's just, I think they were just about to get some fucking just desserts, and they're gone. It's so sad. The Devil from Norway, man, just any record, just check this fucking band out. Probably the best band out of Norway for the last 15 years, at least. You know. They immediately come to mind. Another band, American band that has love. I've missed them every time they fucking come here for whatever fucking reason. Witch Vomit on $20 Spin, death metal band. Fucking great band. Really good.
Jevel, I definitely agree with you. Here's mine, also a band out of Norway, Red Harvest.
Oh yeah,
it is mind-boggling to me how that band was not massive, and really, I mean, I think Hybrid is an incredible record, the record they put out in 1996. But from Cold Dark Matter on, they just don't miss. Cold Dark Matter is a masterpiece.
They were
Sick
good,
Transit,
yeah.
Gloria Mundi, fucking phenomenal. Internal Punishment Programs, pure genius, and then A Greater Darkness. They brought this neurosis vibe into their music. They just added another layer to things and took it to an even bigger level. But yeah, that to me is probably the most criminally underrated band. I know that there's been talk of them getting back together again. There's been they're listed as active on Metal Archives. When they're ever going to record something, do something, I don't know. I've actually tried getting in touch with somebody from the band to see if I can get them on the show.
Oh, wow.
But no luck so far. I am definitely working on it, though, as much as I can.
I have one more band that I think is finally now, or in the last bunch of years, is getting their just desserts. And they've been teasing new music forever, and it is Dawn from Sweden. I mean, those records, those 3 releases are phenomenal. You know, they've been saying that they're working on the new album for I don't know how many years it's been, 2, 3, maybe more. It would be amazing to get an interview with one of those guys. I think you're a Dawn fan.
I am, yeah. You actually reminded me of that when we did our 90s black metal countdown.
Yeah.
So for sure, a band I mean, certainly love to interview them. I need to tell you offline about some of the pipeline I've got building at the moment. I think the Legion's going to very strongly approve, and if all of it comes off, it's going to be one of the most fucking crazy lineups I've had on this podcast for a very, very long time.
Nice.
So let's wrap up with this one. I was blown away, quite frankly, by the last Abigail Williams single that I heard. There is a new track available for streaming right now. American black metal band Abigail Williams, they say, reveal a brand new single, the closing track of its long-awaited new studio album, A Void Within Existence, set for release on July the 18th via Agonia Records. So basically, as we're recording this, it's next Friday. The monumental piece is entitled No Less Than Death. Like I said, I've loved everything I've heard of this record so far, in particular the most recent single. That really shot this up on my list of most awaited albums of the year. So let's give this a spin. Did let that one run a little longer than I normally would, but I felt like it kind of needed to shift gears a little bit before I stop it. It is a 9-minute song. What's your initial impressions?
I remember this band from 20 years ago, roughly, as a very different band, even thrown around in almost like the metalcore world, and then they went into a black metal direction. I never really paid this band any mind. But if I'm judging them on this one thing alone, this is quite good. I mean, it's easy listening, black metal. But
yes, correct.
It's good. It's damn. I mean, it's memorable. Well,
interestingly, the other songs off the record, particularly the previous single, was a lot harsher. A lot more my speed. this is very clearly, I mean, you can hear it's an end of album track. If I were a band, I don't necessarily think I would put this out as a single. You kind of want people to be excited for you want to throw some bangers at them. And this is just something that they get as a surprise towards the end. I might be completely wrong on this, but I could swear the song I'm thinking of is a track called Ultra that Black Anvil had on their album As Was. And that's a fantastic example of a perfect album closer that is a step away from the band's usual sound, but it's just a perfect way to cap off the experience. I kind of feel like this is going to be like that. The only one criticism I'd throw at it is I felt like they were chewing on the idea of that initial melody a little too long before they shifted gears. And like I said, that's why I let the song go a little longer, because I could feel it's going to come. The shift is going to happen, but I feel that maybe the shift happened a little too late. Like 20 seconds, 30 seconds later than it should have.
Song reminded me of Wolves in the Throne Room, for sure. Which is definitely probably an influence of theirs. Oddly enough, while the song was going, I looked them up on Encyclopedia Metallum, only to learn that main man Ken was in Tombs at one point.
He was. Mike actually reminded me of that earlier when I spoke to him. Apparently he's good friends with the great Sensei Mike Hill. Outlaw Mike Scondotto, as always, an absolute pleasure to talk to you. We must do these more regularly, I think.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of fun with these, man.
Yeah, these are genuinely a blast. And like I said, we have to do that hardcore episode, and we'll reveal when we do the thrash episode, which, by the way, comes next week. So if you guys want to hear the Mikes and I talk about thrash metal, make sure you check out Into the Necrosphere next week, because that's when this will drop.
Awesome.
But you'll also hear what our next 666 countdown is going to be. That's also super exciting. But thank you very much, sir, to you for your time. I want to say a big thank you to Gigi Arabia for her time. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. To all of you, whatever it is that you are doing and wherever it is that you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you bad motherfuckers again next week.
Cheers.
Long way for little back, still make me stagnate. Not something isn't automated, instinctively investigated. And now, a virgin mountain rain. Another insignificant to join the rat race. Something noted within our grasp, which overthrows the sanctity of life. The wonderful, the rocky burden. We spin out of control. Guided, or could it be misguided? No time for fighting. We occupied with pressing on. The rocky burden. Sunday.